I think it's just that, maybe there's restaurants that you may go to with your friends or your pals, like, every month. Maybe your favorite, like, burger and a beer bar. And then you have like the Black Horse is more of that elevated restaurant that you go to once or twice a year for special occasions.
Yeah, I was thinking if the Black Horse were a restaurant, it would be like a hot sauce challenge.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, you might be right. It could be a hot sauce challenge. Like, yeah, hot ones. It'll beat the bomb. Like when they get to that one sauce, that always gets people. When their eyes start watering, that would be climbing the hill, going up to 15 green. It's going up to 15 when people start like, oh my goodness, like what did I sign up for? This is when I first started working here. This was actually like a dump, like a wood chip dump. I mean, there were even like stop signs and shopping carts in here, and so we would clean that all out. And then our horticulturalist, his name is Victor, he took it over. So that's what we call Vic's Valley. So it's our little songbird kind of pollinator garden area. So we've never let any of the tournaments touch it, so it gets roped off during the events. There's even some beehives in there, so we have some honeybees on the barn too. So it's a pretty cool spot. Like our ecologist had a picture from 2019, and you can see with the honeybee hives, and then you can see up through the trees, Brooks Koepka is teeing off on number 5, for the final round of the PGA Championship. My name is Andrew Wilson, and I am the Director of Agronomy here at Bethpage State Park. Well, I grew up in Bethpage, about 10 minutes from here, and I didn't play the Black until, I was probably, 20 or so. Like we'd play the green course, kind of like the green course. Back then you had to walk the green course, there were no carts, so that was always, the wait was usually a little shorter for the green course. You'd walk past the first tee of the Black and you see the warning sign, and then you could see how big everything was, the bunkers and everything else. It was noticeably different than the other courses. I started working here in 1989, and I was working mainly around the clubhouse. I worked on the tennis courts, and then just general landscaping, getting ready for outings. And I even cashiered for a year. I've been a starter, a ranger. And then the sea change at Bethpage State Park happened in 1997. That's when the announcement was made for the US Open. So that was great, huge news. Coincidentally, the greenskeeper at the time was retiring. And that's when the best decision the park made was hiring Craig Currier to be the superintendent. When I first started working on the golf maintenance team, the superintendents of the courses were good guys, but it was like a retired sanitation worker, a retired electrician, a retired fireman. It was more like guys who were interested in golf but didn't really know the agronomy that well, and Craig had it down pat. We kind of got into working at a pace that most people here weren't used to, didn't know about. We wanted to go from acceptable to try and get into exceptional conditions, and especially with the Black Horse, we had to hit the ground running. As the first true muni to have a US Open, we were kind of in that, a little bit of a chip on our shoulder to prove ourselves to the world. So yeah, it was a good time. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. Clay. So the soil here in pockets, it's pretty heavy clay, like the road that cuts through the golf course, Brown Swamp Road. So it's swampy, especially on 1 and 18 of the Black. You dig down a foot and it's this gray, gross clay. And if we get 1.5 inch thunderstorm in this kind of heat, grass will just like melt out, just these little tiny sections. So we've been amending the soil for 25 plus years. So we're just trying to get down a little further, it's fine margins, but the water can perk just a little bit lower and let the roots dry out. But the fairways look great. We're happy with how the fairways look. The main difference in the courses now, well, it's a little bit of, maybe patting ourselves on the back. It's really the maintenance. I won't go back 50 years, but 25 years, or say 30 years. It was very overgrown. A little unkempt, where it kind of passed that sort of rustic, unkempt, wild look to just almost unmaintained. Behind 8 green, you couldn't even see the 9th tee. It was just half a forest, and it wasn't like they were desirable trees either. They were kind of invasive, weedy trees. If you're on the Black Course now, you can see we have like forest around most of the golf course. On the second hole, we literally had 2 50-foot oaks, like 10 feet off the green, And then every August we started struggling and struggling. You'd start having like bare patches and things like that, and then you'd have to wait for recovery in the fall. So in 1997, when the USGA made the announcement, McDonald & Sons was the company that was chosen to do the renovations. So Reese Jones came in and all the tees were redesigned and rebuilt. All the bunkers were redesigned and rebuilt. The 18th green was reshaped a little bit. A lot of the bunkers had turned into circles. I think 14 was kind of called the Mickey Mouse bunker. So there was a lot of that. There was just a lot of lack of definition and things like that that really needed improvement. And then for me being on the crew and the experience of that was seeing all that construction take place and seeing how to level a tee, how to install drainage in a bunker, sodding and sodding and sodding. I mean, acres and acres of sod that we were installing. It was rewarding to see in that way, like things were getting much better every day. That was probably our bigger winter project. There's a lot of resodding of bunker fingers. For championship golf, though, it's getting to like those kind of levels of champagne problems where we're worried about the bunker hedges. And say the whole course is 175 acres, and we're worried about 20,000 square feet. Percentage-wise, it's pretty good, but it's still a big concern. Still want to have the place look as good as it can. And like in May, in June, when we've had the other major events, the grass is really still on like the upswing, and now we're in that trough. And we're just kind of heading to the weather where it's kind of back on our side for cool season grasses. So the grass is on the black course. We're a POA. I don't want to say a POA factory, but maybe I do. Maybe maybe we are. Yeah. So our greens are pretty much POA greens. The fairways and tees, we seed a lot of ryegrass into them, but there's also a lot of POA out there as well. The rough is always sort of legendary too. We usually cut the rough at 3 inches. Our rough is sort of a hodgepodge of grasses. We have rye, Kentucky bluegrass, and POA. We usually seed into the rough with a mix. So if there's one particular grass shines in one particular area, we'll let that happen. We don't try to achieve a monoculture of grass anywhere. So sometimes that different type of grass can lead to different lies. Cool season grass course here, I think the balls tend to settle down to that rough. Then of course we have the high rough. Right now it's August 12th, so the end of September when we get to mid 70s, low 70s during the day, high 50s at night. That's the time of year when POA shines. And yeah, POA greens are great. They're a little needy in July and August, but good staff, get a lot of constant hand watering and monitoring, and we have a lot of experienced crews so they kind of can keep an eye on them. It also helps that we have a fantastic superintendent on the black course, Mike Hadley. You'll talk to him later.
My name is Michael Hadley, and I'm the superintendent of the black course at Bethpage State Park. To do POA right, I mean, you just have to baby it, and you have to be on top of it. We can get really short roots here in the summer, so we have to be on top of hand watering, vigilant on what diseases or problems could occur. But then when you get to the fall or in the spring on the shoulders of the season, there's nothing better than a good POA green. For the championships, you're kind of part of that test too. You have some kind of influence over how the course is going to play. I mean, that's very fun and very interesting, to be a part of, and then to see it play out, in the majors is really fun to see. For a championship, obviously every detail is looked at for every day of the tournament. We can't have that standard every day of the week on a Wednesday in, June. We have more, hands on the staff with volunteers for the championship week. I can't keep bunkers raked every day. We have 9 acres of bunkers. But obviously for a tournament, they're raked every day and as pristine as can be.
So the Bethpage Black has held 3 majors. We had the 2002 and 2009 US Open and the 2019 PGA Championship. We'll sneak in a few Barclays, FedEx Cup Playoffs in 2012 and 2016. Now the Ryder Cup coming in 2025. New elements that were introduced for the Ryder Cup compared to our past majors, and specifically the 2019 major. The first tee comes to mind immediately. So we built a new tee, mainly to accommodate the grandstand at number 1. The grandstands, they're about 2/3 done with it now. It's going to be about 5,000 people, and you can see the first tee and the 18th green from pretty much every seat in the house. So we had to build a new tee just for the Ryder Cup. 2 years ago, there was a decent-sized oak tree on the 8th hole that had been sort of failing. It kind of made it through 2019, and so really for safety and just to make sure that we could grow grass back in that area, that tree came down. The 13th hole, 2 fairway bunkers, we kind of leapfrogged the bunker, so to accommodate modern driving distances. I made some fairways a little wider on number 6, 7, 10, and 11. With the length of the rough, it sort of isolated some of the fairway bunkers. If a ball was kind of hit offline and rolling into that rough, it was just going to die in the rough. And the bunkers were sort of, unless you were hitting the bunkers on a fly, they were just sort of there. Sometimes they might have been there a little more for show. So now if a ball's hit offline, like, maybe there's a little more rub of the green involved where maybe it'll stay on the fairway and hey, great, or maybe it'll just keep going and gently fall into the bunker. So the scale of the build out, you see, I should have printed it out or had it a little more handy. I have a sheet where it's, the, whatever it is, 10 miles of fences, the most ever. The build out for the corporate hospitality is insane. We have double deckers, triple deckers. I think the corporate hospitality is more than they've ever done. If you've been to a major like the US Open and PGA Championship and haven't been to the Ryder Cup, if you walk through the gate, I don't think it takes 5 minutes to realize, wow, this is huge. This is bigger than any other golf event.
So my name is Vinny Herzog, and I'm a construction superintendent at Bethpage State Park. As it relates to Bethpage specifically, my role is to manage any construction project we would have here. There's 5 golf courses, so there's always a need for something to be rehabbed, revamped, retuned. Obviously, we're not making any major changes, certainly to the Black course right now. So my role is shifted from, course construction projects and irrigation management to the build out for the Ryder Cup. This is the biggest event in golf, literally by, board feet. It's well over 1 million square feet of build. So trying to manage that company that does this and the 180 guys that are on staff and minimizing their damage and impact to our infrastructure here. To secure all these venues and builds and tents, there's literally tens of thousands of stakes that go into the ground. So I have to mark all that out and make sure they go in the right way and there's no lasting damage to Bethpage.
The build out has been massive as compared to other tournaments, the 19 or the 02, any other championship we have here. It's probably double or more. Something else pops up every day. It seems like a new tent here and they're going higher there. And
I really started diving into the plans about 2 years ago. It was minimal, it was preliminary, having conversations with the PGA. So as we've drawn closer and got into 2025, it really ramped up. Conversations every week, go to conversations every day, go to multiple conversations every day. So the whole trajectory is just, as we get closer, it just gets ramped up.
obviously we're losing turf and the course is getting a little smaller, and maybe new ways to get to greens because the old way is blocked by a tent now or a bleacher, and just kind of our routing has changed a little bit.
Oh, the build out certainly has an effect on agronomy of the golf course. Like currently they're building a structure on the 14th tee that they're covering some of the sprinkler heads, so it's a little more hand watering for the staff. Or part of the reason it helps to have more of the loaner fleet come in is because we might need a smaller mower to get into a tighter area to keep an area mowed that we might have been able to mow in 5 minutes with a huge machine, and now we have to get a smaller machine and take a little more time.
You can't host an event like this without having an impact. So making sure that my counterparts understand that these guys have a job to do, and I am talking to them every day, working with the crew foremans and the managers, and this is what we'd like to see you guys do to help minimize that. And then making sure I'm communicative with Andy and Ryan and Mike on the Black course. Here's what's going on, here's why this is what it is. Things just get a little more complicated because of all the infrastructure that's here now.
As we go through the season, we have 200 or so, probably more people around the park, on the course, so getting around gets a little tough, but really the golf course itself, we can get on it and do what we need to do. So Definitely keeps the excitement up for everybody around here, and it lets you know how big this thing's gonna be.
What are the biggest differences between the Black Course in 2019 and the Black Course as it's going to be for the 2025 Ryder Cup?
So just the time of year is the biggest difference. I like to say May is before all the problems that the summer can give you. You're just trying to get the grass growing by mid-May. We have to get through the summer first to get to this Ryder Cup. And during the summer, you have all the challenges of the weather, different diseases, weeds popping up. You have to go through your whole year, basically, and then produce the final product at the end, and hopefully the best. So that's the biggest challenge.
That third week of May when we had the PGA Championship was great. It was great. June was great. You know, the USGA aren't fools. There's a reason they choose that, you know, third week of June or so to have that tournament, because it's really optimal for a lot of grass types. August, stress every single August. 100 out of 100 times we're going to have stress in August. When we had our 2 Barclays, that was tough, because that was, I mean, like I said, cool season grasses are not happy that time of year. Right now, the course has been like crazily popular. I mean, it's just, there were people here yesterday at, 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're waiting to play tomorrow. So it's almost, a 36-hour wait, basically. And so, yeah, with that popularity comes a lot of wear and tear. And thankfully, the park director had some mercy on us, and we've been reducing rounds a little bit to about 125 a day for the past few weeks. And we're actually going to close next week, which is nice. One example, so all the courses here have been affected by the Ryder Cup build-out. The 9th hole of the yellow course is a short game practice for the Ryder Cup, and it's also where the merch tent is, and the merch tent isolated that 70 or 80 yards of the hole that they're using, so it's been out of play for like 2 months now, and the approach is perfect, the green has no ball marks on it, it looks fantastic, so we're hoping another 5 or 6 weeks of very little play, and no play means the course will start to really round out, where we can get it perfect. Hopefully the weather cooperates. I mean, the last thing I want is for us to be on Golf Channel things or anything like that, pushing squeegees around. And we're happy that we're getting attention, and we want to present the stage as best we can. But at some point, people are here to watch the competition and the golf and things like that. And we want to be smiling from the background is where I'd like to be.